Yeah, I call it monopoly money until it's like real money. And that's like, because I meet a lot of employees who like have never had equity explained to them either. And so like my job as an HR person is like, I'm going to talk about your compensation, your base, variable, whatever, how you actually get that. I'm going to talk about your healthcare benefits because that can impact your compensation. Like, are we 100% paying your plan? Like, what does it look like? What's the average monthly cost? And then the last thing is if there's equity, I'm going to talk about that equity. I'm going to explain like, what does this mean? How many shares you get, how to exercise them, what a vesting schedule is. Because I meet a lot of people who like don't know what that is. And they're too afraid in the offer to ask. Yeah. And so like my job of delivering an offer is like, I need to be able to explain all these pieces. But I do think like the average employee has no effing clue how equity works. And I've worked at 4 startups. So like I know.
I will share my experience, which hopefully makes people feel a little bit better. I came from investment banking and private equity, where part of my job was understanding the finances of a company really well. And in many cases, especially in private equity, we were buying and selling companies and giving equity packages to executives or the management team or whomever it was at those companies. And then I got my first offer at a startup and they said 498. And I was like, what the hell is that? And they were like, a strike price. And I was like, I know it in the concept of public markets, but is that what this means here? And then there were like tax implications that I had to consider and QSBS and all these acronyms. And I was like, what the hell? And I'm supposed to be a kind of more financially literate person than the average employee due to the nature of my job. And I had to literally ask all of my peers, many of whom had no idea what I was asking because I was one of, at least within my network, one of the earlier people to go into startups. I had to ask my future boss, like, hey, can you explain this to me? And I was very lucky that Dan at Expanse was very transparent and educational about what equity was. And I was then able to make my informed decision of, okay, is this, what is this? What does it mean for me? What's its potential impact? If you don't have that knowledge, you can't make the right decision. And you can't expect the average employee to know this if a finance employee has no idea what it is. And the majority of your company is going to be employees who don't understand equity. So truly understanding it and explaining it well, I think is a really easy way for you to separate yourself as an employer that can help you with not just hiring, but also retaining those employees.
And building trust with them. Like, look, I respect you so much. I want you to trust me. Let me be very transparent on what this actually means. When it's like disguised in secrecy, I feel like your employees can sniff that bullshit so fast.
Totally. Treat people like adults. You think they're smart. That's why you're hiring them. You wouldn't if you didn't. So why are you hiding this information from them? Treat them intelligently. Treat them like adults. And if they disagree with your compensation practices, use that as a data point. Maybe you are underpaying people or you're doing a poor job explaining things. But if you just hide this all together, you're just hoping they don't ask these questions and they're going to quit on it when they find out later. So like, why not just find that out now?
Or they're going to tell each other. I tell employees, y'all should tell each other how much money you make. I know I'm paying you all fairly and equitably. So tell each other because you're going to find out you're being paid fairly and equitably.
See, but then that's a way where your organization can separate itself and raise its employer brand relative to others. Because other companies would say, don't talk about compensation, which by the way, in many places would be illegal to say such a thing. But maybe it's, kind of incentivized in different ways to not talk openly about compensation. Well, taboo. Maybe you have skeletons in the closet that you want to hide. If you didn't, all of a sudden you can be transparent. And you can be transparent about a lot of other things if you can be transparent about compensation.
Yeah, but I think compensation scares people. Like a lot of CEOs I know want to do the right thing, but they're scared about being transparent about compensation. And it's like, why are you scared if we're doing the right thing? If we're doing the right thing, like we can stand by it and it'll be the right thing. But it's still, I think, just we're conditioned to not talk about it. We all have like manners we've been taught. And one of them is you don't tell people how much money you make.
Yeah.
And I think that's like quite silly.